Let's be honest, navigating health insurance can feel like you're trying to solve a complicated puzzle in a language you don't really speak. But what if you had the rulebook? Well, if you're in New York, you actually do. So let's dive in and uncover the key protections that are in place just for you. So think about the last health insurance ad you saw. I bet it promised you complete peace of mind, incredible coverage, maybe a price that seemed almost too good to be true. But you gotta wonder, right? How much of that is the whole story and how much of it is just really, really good marketing? Are they giving you the full picture or just showing you the best parts? Well, here's the good news. New York State has a very specific set of rules that insurance companies have to play by. It's all designed to protect you, right from the moment you see an ad to the day you actually need to use your benefits. So let's walk through that journey together, and you'll see exactly what your rights are every step of the way. Here's our game plan. First, we're going to decode those insurance ads. Then, we'll get into how your price is set under a really important New York rule. After that, we'll crack open the policy itself to find the protections that are literally built in. And finally, we'll talk about the safety net that's there for you while you're using your insurance. Okay, first up, let's decode those ads. See, your protection as a consumer actually starts way before you sign on any dotted line. New York has some seriously strict rules about what insurers are allowed to say and what they're not when they're trying to win you over. And the foundation for all this? It's a law called Regulation 34. Its entire purpose is to make sure there's truthful and adequate disclosure. Now, that's a bit of legal jargon, but what it really means is that the whole point of this law is to prevent you from being misled, plain and simple. So here's how that plays out in the real world. Think of it as red flags you need to watch out for and green flags you should always see. On the red flag side, insurers are flat out forbidden from using words that exaggerate, like all, full, or unlimited. They also can't put a positive spin on a negative, like trying to call a waiting period a benefit builder. No way. On the green flag side, they have to tell you their full legal name and the policy form number. That's kind of like a serial number for the specific plan. And if there are any limitations, they have to be stated clearly and directly. They can't hide the fine print. And it gets even more specific with things like testimonials and stats. You know, if an ad has a customer story, it has to be real and current. And if that person got paid to say it, the ad must clearly state paid endorsement. Any numbers or statistics they use have to be totally accurate and actually relevant. Basically, the insurance company is responsible for every single thing in their ads. So we know the ads have to be straight with you. But once you pick a plan, how do they decide what you're going to pay? This is where a really powerful rule in New York kicks in, and it's all about creating a level playing field for everybody. It's called community rating. The idea is actually pretty simple, but it's a game changer. Instead of setting your premium based on your personal health situation, the rate is based on the combined risk of the entire group, the community that's buying that same plan. It means everyone is pooled together. So what does that mean for your wallet? Well, under New York's community rating law for these plans, an insurer simply cannot use your age, your gender, or your health status to charge you more. This is a huge deal. It was designed to stop insurers from only covering young, healthy people while leaving everyone else with ridiculously high rates they could never afford.
Okay, so you've sifted through the ads, you get how the pricing works, and you've bought a policy. Now what? Well, that rulebook is still with you. Every single health insurance policy sold in New York has to include a few non-negotiable clauses. Think of them as your built-in rights.
First up, there's the entire contract provision. This just means that the policy document, plus your application and any other attachments, make up the one and only agreement. An agent can't make you a verbal promise that isn't in the paperwork. What you see in writing is exactly what you get. No surprises. Now listen up, because this one is a huge protection for you. It's called the contestability period. For the first 2 years after you get your policy, the insurance company can look into your application and, well, contest it if they find something really wrong. But after those 2 years are up, that window slams shut. They cannot void your policy unless they can prove you committed actual fraud. It's a massive protection. Hey, life happens, right? Sometimes a payment is late. That's where the grace period comes in. It's a mandatory buffer for you. Depending on how often you pay, you get 7, 10, or even 31 days after the due date, where your policy stays in full effect. It's an automatic safety net, so you don't lose coverage just because you were a little late. So what happens if you miss the grace period too? You might still get a second chance with what's called reinstatement. If the insurer accepts your late payment, your policy can be put back into action. But there's one thing to keep in mind. For any sickness, coverage only starts up again 10 days after your policy is reinstated. All right, let's bring it home. We've covered the buying and the owning of a policy. For our last section, let's look at the rules that protect you when you're actually using your insurance, or if you decide you need to cancel it. This is your consumer safety net in action. When it comes to cancellation, the power is almost entirely in your hands. The insurance company has a tiny 90-day window at the very beginning where they can cancel, and even then, they have to give you notice and a refund. But you can cancel at any time for any reason you want, and you're entitled to a refund for any premium you've paid but haven't used. This one's pretty straightforward. It's called the unpaid premium provision. All it means is that if you file a claim, but you happen to be behind on a payment, the insurance company can just subtract what you owe from the benefit check they're sending you. It's really just a simple way to get things settled up. So let's bring this all together. Here's your empowered consumer checklist. You now know to check ads for those red flags and green flags. You know your premium is based on the whole community, not just on you. You get that your contract has powerful, built-in protections like that 2-year contestability limit. You know you have a grace period for payments, and you're fully aware of your rights when it comes to cancellation. Remember, these aren't just little details. These are your rights. Knowing these rules really does change everything. It takes you from just being a passive buyer to being a confident, informed consumer. It gives you the power to ask way smarter questions, to spot potential problems, and to really understand the security you're paying for. So the real question now is, knowing all this, how are you going to approach health insurance from now on?